What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros Saturday morning live show. We are back in our respective studios. I'm back here in Atlanta, Georgia. T. Shroom is back at his home down there in South Florida. We've got a lot to talk to you guys about today, though, so you're going to want to strap on in for the entire show. Bitcoin had a major dip last night that we had been calling for a while, but the biggest question is that dip over? Yes, we have rebounded after hitting about 52,500, depending on what exchange you're looking at. Bitcoin's back up above 54, and I think the price is going a little higher. But does that mean that the dip is over, or are we going a lot lower? We're going to be talking about that and a whole lot more in this video, so do not go anywhere. Smash the like, hit subscribe, but first, we got to roll our intro. What is going on, T. Shroom? I know you're not feeling the greatest right now. That travel kind of kicking your butt a little bit.
It is, Tim. There were some germs going around in Texas that my immune system was not ready for. Despite that, I am still doing better than I deserve. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back home, seeing the family. Got to spend time with Brody. It was a very good return back home. College football's on today again, week 2. My team didn't play so well last week, so hopefully today we turn that around. But it's a good day. It's a good day to be thankful to have another one, and another good day to be reviewing the markets. And we were talking with people out in Texas, and people who, it was a conference not for crypto or finance influencers, just influencers as a whole. Learned some really cool things about how other people view YouTube, but people are asking our questions a lot. T-shirt. They're asking us what we think about the market and they're like, how things are going. And it's one of those things. It's like, to be fair, as a crypto YouTuber, things are really good performance-wise when price is going really high or doing really bad. It's the boring sideways that always hurts the most. Well, I'll tell you this. When things drop like they did last night, it's good for us for 2 reasons. One, a lot of people want to come in here and find out what the heck happened. I think we're going to get a lot of people in here throughout not only the live show, but afterwards as well. But they're also wondering, is it time to buy or is it time to keep on holding? And that's something we're definitely going to discuss in this video. We got a very jam-packed show of information that you guys need to know about and how you can respond. I'm hoping there's a lot of people in here that are newer to investing that really are kind of looking at this dip last night, T-Shroom, and saying, man, how could I still make money despite the fact that crypto price is suffering? Because this is a video that will help you out a lot. With that said, T-Shroom, you ready to jump into bubbles and everything else?
Let's do it.
Really quickly, before we do that, wanted to bring a special attention. We have a graph for you guys today. Remember, we have a Blofin trading challenge in the month of September. And whether the price goes up or down, you can trade it no matter what. We still have 22 days left. Remember, we told you guys Apple Mac Pro. Well, it says this. They're going to give you the cash equivalents of $8,000. One of the Investing Bros lucky winners will win $8,000 if we as a community can trade $60 million worth of volume in the month of September. It's absolutely doable, but we need your help. Go start trading today. And every single time you trade $10,000 of volume, which is very simple, like a $1,000 trade on 10x leverage, that is a $10,000 volume. That gives you one entry to win the $8,000. Go sign up with that link today. Let's check out the bubbles here. It's a mixed bag in the last 24 hours, despite the fact there's a lot of dips, and we're going to cover this. It really was mostly the bigger coins that got slammed hard. I'm not saying that smaller coins didn't fall as well, but they had dipped in previous days, and we watched a lot of smaller altcoins actually hold steady, and then even some like Stark and Caspa and Optimism, they actually had some pretty good time over the last 24 hours. Stark's up 13%, Optum 6%, Caspa 6%, Chainlink down here sneakily down up 3.3%, Algo 3.6%. So yeah, it was a bad day for Bitcoin and Ethereum and even Solana tumbling back down below 130. We warned you about all of those things happening. But the altcoins as a whole actually held up pretty well. And I was taking a look at Caspa chart this morning, but I want to take a look at another one, Bitcoin dominance. Now, I don't think that altcoin season is starting, guys. Just so you know, Altcoin season will start not when prices are moving to the downside for Bitcoin and Ethereum. It'll actually be because we've had a massive pump on Bitcoin, and now it's time for the alts to take over dominance. So with this last 3 days being bearish on Bitcoin dominance, it doesn't mean that I think Bitcoin dominance is done. It's simply a cool off. When you take a look at a lot of things that are happening, we were a little overextended on Bitcoin dominance. We could pull back here. I mean, honestly, on the daily chart, we could even pull all the way back to 56%, and we still have a major level of support that would still work on sending us higher up here towards 60%. If you go out to the weekly chart, we still have take profit levels with major support below us that are still suggesting over 60% coming. With that said, though, this is the representation of what happened yesterday. Bitcoin dominance was falling. Why? Well, Bitcoin was falling, Ethereum was falling, but the alts as a whole really not down that far. And we're going to talk more about that here a little bit later. But let's dive in here, T-Shroom, and take a look at Bitcoin as a whole. And let's talk about the hard truths that people are not yet prepared for. Do we think that the bottom is in on the price of Bitcoin? This is a very hard conversation to have. A lot of people have very diverse opinions. Some believe that the bottom absolutely is in and we are going nothing but to the upside. Some believe that we have a little bit lower to go, and others think that a major crash is still in order for Bitcoin price, something that could send the entire economy into recession. I'm going to tell you what I believe. This is not financial advice, but this is our show, mine and T-Shrooms. And so all we can do is give you our opinions and give you the most data and details we can find to help support that. With that said, I want to go ahead and get this out here. I do not believe the dip is over, but you're going to get very confused over the next couple of days, maybe even the next week, about what is happening here. Let's go to the chart and find out why that is. And to do that, I got to start off down here on the 4-hour chart. Now, here on the 4-hour chart, you guys can see we had been in a falling channel, and I actually got rid of that. Sorry, let me redraw the falling channel for you guys. We had been in a falling channel, which normally these channels can be bullish. These usually break to the upside, but instead, we pulled down, we fell below this channel. That's what's happening at the moment. However, we do have a major buy signal that flashed on our 4-hour chart. A couple of things I'm watching when we're looking at oscillators here. Our RSI bottomed out right here. Let me make that a full screen. The relative strength index came down, flashed 100% oversold, and now is making a climb. This is a very good sign for the RSI, and it's a very bullish sign for the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. Our MACD, this MACD line here, the blue line, is about to cross over the average range, that orange line. This is a bullish MACD cross. It's also another major buy signal. But the one that I love the most from our Lux Algo oscillator, this is the super powered oscillator that I do believe is the most powerful tool I have ever used while trading, and you only get it when you purchase Lux Algo Premium. We had our major buy signal with 4 different points. Number 1, we had that green reversal come in here late last night. Shortly after, we had the bullish momentum dot. And then number 3, we had our money flow cross positively above the bearish threshold, and a little bit of excessive sellers, that light pink area right in there. If I were to zoom in, you guys see that light pink area. Those are now gone. So this is actually 4 major buy signals in play that did give us a buy order on the 4-hour chart. You missed out on the exact perfect spot to go in, but I think we're going to go a little higher. There is a red dot up top. This is a resistance dot that is in play, but I'm not worried about that just yet until we see bearish things happening with these other indicators. What that means, though, hit the wrong line. Get rid of that. What this means is this was a perfect little 4-hour buying spot that should send price back up to the upside. And when I pull up the rest of the Lux Algo oscillators, you'll also see the 4-hour got overextended because it hit the take profit on the sell order. You guys see this red block right here. This was a sell order that said, hey, sell right here and you'll be able to take profit somewhere between 54,850 and somewhere down here towards 52.3. Well, no matter where you would have entered your take profit, you hit it on this level. And now with the smart trail, this trailing red cloud right here, a trailing level of resistance that we have been below since back here on August 27th, that is my target for a big pull up to the upside. I think that we absolutely could get back up into that level. If you look at a little bit higher here and you go towards larger time frames, let's say like the 12-hour, we hit our take profit on this one as well. And you're beginning to see some very bullish flashes on our Lux Algo oscillator, such as this blue line right here, which is very faint. I don't know if any of you guys can see it very well, but there's a blue line that marks what we call bullish divergence. It's a strong reversal indicator that says the price should go up. Well, we're also getting a green reversal. We're more than likely sometime today going to see a green dot print on this chart as well as the price goes up. And then as soon as that money flow flows to the upside, I believe the 12-hour is going to have a buy signal, in which case I think the 4-hour chart is almost a guarantee. Nothing's a sure guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that we'll bounce back up to this red smart trail on the 4-hour chart in the range of 56,000, maybe a little higher towards 56.8. But if that 12-hour flashes its buy signal, we could even rally back up here closer towards 60,000, up above 59,000. Now, this is all positive things I'm talking about. Tim, I thought you said this is bad news. I thought you want to hear this. This is awesome. We want to hear that Bitcoin's going to the upside. Well, that's the truth that people are not ready for. Yes, we're seeing bullish 1 hours and 4 hours. In fact, we're seeing bullishness that extends all the way up into the 12-hour chart. And this is awesome. The problem is those are all shorter time frames that tell us about the next couple of days, but not necessarily the next couple of weeks. And what I'm looking at right here, and I think I still believe September has the possibility of closing bullish, but I think that potentially sometime next week, before we actually get a Fed decision, we could see another major dip in price action. And to see that, I got to flip up here to the daily chart. Let's see here. We got a poll in there. Everyone go vote on that poll. Interested to see how that one turns out. Let's take a look at the daily chart right here, and then we're going to take a look at the weekly chart as well. We just yesterday flashed a sell signal on the daily chart with take profits even coming down low towards 48,400. I'm not necessarily convinced we have to go that low, but I do believe that this is a major signal that you should not be ignoring, that we're getting a sell order on that daily chart. You're also going to see this pink block, which is what we call a bearish breaker block, a level of former support that we flipped here yesterday. And now it is a strong level of resistance coming in kind of in confluence with that 4-hour smart trail, where right about 56,000, give or take. So this is definitely something that we have a lot of resistance above us. We have a lot of sell pressure to the downside. When I take a look at our oscillators as well, this is something on the daily chart. There's still room to the downside. Yes, on the Luxago oscillator, we have a green triangle, and the money flows kind of sideways. But we don't have bullish divergence put in play right here. We have a lot of room. We really could move to the downside. The MACD is accelerating to the downside here over the last couple of days. It's not showing any sign of reversal with that blue line curving and going back to the upside. It's still pretty aggressively falling to the downside. On the RSI, we're seeing a small bounce here, but not necessarily bouncing at a majorly overextended level like we saw back on August 5th and back here on July 4th and back on June 24th. These are bottom signals on the RSI daily chart, coming only down to about 35. While it's lower than the 50 line, obviously, it's not screaming that we're majorly overextended, but it gets worse when I go to another long time frame. Let's go all the way out to the weekly chart, where the weekly chart actually has been showing us that the bottom is close, but it's not confirmed that the bottom is in. And you can see two major support lines that I have been watching and I still believe are here on the table. The first one, 52,000, where we do have the weekly smart trail. This smart trail major support level has been very strong on the weekly chart since all the way back closer towards the bottom of the bear market back in March of 2023. You can see it's been used as support several times on pullbacks, even more recently, and I do believe that we could touch the bottom level here once again. However, if that level is lost, a lot of ifs on this one, but if that level is lost, there still is, and we discussed this yesterday, Peter Brandt discussed this, a major buy order here on the weekly chart, coming in down at 46,900. It could go down towards 46,000 or 45,007. But as a whole, what we talked about the other day, this orange line of a megaphone pattern, we could end up touching that one to the downside here on 46,000. Either way, the weekly charts oscillators not telling us it's time to buy. In fact, something that I really don't like. I'm still optimistic here. I'm still bullish long term, but I do not like that our weekly chart is losing the 50 line on the RSI. That line is usually a level of defense when you pull back down for bulls to have support. And I'm not saying we can't get another bounce back up, but we're going to need to see some positivity like we saw back here in September of 2023. We lost it briefly and then recaptured But this is something we're going to need to do again. Historically, while this situation is nice, historically, when you lose the 50 line, you have a period of time, like back here between December of 21 and back here to July of 2022, that you spend some time down low. Now, that's the middle of the bear market, or that's the pretty much almost the entirety of the bear market. So don't get too worried necessarily about that detail, but it's something that historically losing that 50 on the RSI on any time frame is considered a bearish thing. We're looking at our other oscillators. The MACD still aggressively falling to the downside. If I zoom in on that one, that blue line still aggressively falling, not seeing support there. When we look at the Luxago oscillator, the money flow negativity is continuing to fall. We hit low levels that historically on the weekly chart can get us to reversals. But what I'm kind of wondering is, do we go a little bit lower and set up some bullish divergence on the weekly chart? And that's our flash to move to the upside. What I'm overall saying here, guys, I'm bullish. The long-term time frames and the long-term things of saying, what does the next year look like? Still extremely bullish. The news that we're having come out day in and day out about what the future looks like, it is still bullish. With that said, though, over the next couple of days, maybe week or two, I am not convinced that the bottom is yet in. I still believe we have to go a little bit lower. But before I transition away from here, we're going to go into some news, and then we'll come back. We'll do some Q&A on we'll do some Q&A on coins that you guys want to hear more about, specifically in the altcoin space. A lot of you might be saying, all right, Tim, you just crushed us. You just gave us small hope, and then we're going to fall back lower. What are we looking for these reversals? What are we looking for to be bullish once again? Well, it's not necessarily that complicated. As I said earlier, the reason the next couple of days are probably going to be bullish is because the 4-hour, even all the way up to the 12-hour, are looking very bullish, while it's the daily through weekly chart that are showing this dip might not be over. For me to be wrong, or for the bottom to be confirmed and we are reversal to the upside, we need to see the buy signals start to flow from lower time frames up into higher ones. So right now we have buy signals on the 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour. But we need to then see it translate into the daily chart. And then we need to see that daily chart start to get some momentum and see a buy signal on the weekly chart. I think that when we get a buy signal on the weekly chart, that will be the sign. All right, here we go. New all-time highs are coming soon. But we don't have that yet. In the world of investing and trading, you got to learn to take your emotions out of the equation and trade the charts in front of you. Trade the information, the news, the data points, and you got to wait for confirmation before you go all in on your investments. Well, there are so many reasons to be bullish long-term, but also a lot of reasons to think that a better buy signal could be around the corner. You got to be patient. Wait for that bullishness to trickle. My fear, though, is what's going to happen is we'll be bullish on those lower time frames, get a reversal, turn bearish, and then we'll have another situation where we're waiting for the 4-hour to turn bullish again, and then the 12-hour, and then the daily, and then the weekly, and that will be when everything takes off. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any clarifying questions. That'll be part of our Q&A. But T-Shroom, let's talk about news. Let's talk about, from the news perspective, why did Bitcoin crash yesterday? We actually had some favorable job numbers. We've had some favorable data. People are expecting a rate cut is coming. The question is, are we going to get 25 basis points or 50 basis points? We'll talk a little bit on that one. But tell us what's going on in the news section. Why is Bitcoin dipping? And from a news perspective, should we be expecting more dips as well?
Yeah, we had a request to look at the monthly candles and for Bitcoin and look at the oscillator there, so we can catch that in the Q&A section later, or or in between stories or something. But yeah, so Fed meeting spurs Bitcoin price drop and altcoin volatility. Bros, it's all about catalysts when you're looking at weekly investments, swing trading, and right now you have one of the biggest catalysts that can happen, which is a Federal Reserve transition of policy from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. We've been in a pause phase, and now it looks like the Fed is ready to go ahead and start cutting. So this is what it's all about right now. All the market participants are trying to get their head around what this cut is going to look like and how the market's going to react. So Bitcoin price dropped to 52,550 in the last 24 hours, causing altcoins to continue the day in the red. Fed meeting is on September 18th, and a rate cut is certain. That's a pretty strong language for an article. I would say it's not certain, but it is close to, it's gaining certainty. However, investor expectations about the size of the cut have been volatile for weeks. We experienced 2 years of negative volatility pressure before Fed weeks, the Fed has kept rates at their peak for a year, and at this time, the pre-meeting chart fluctuations might favor the bulls as the first cut decision will come. So, a dip before the pump is essentially what's going on here. To be honest with you, Tim, I can't get my head around the trading psychology of why there would be a dump before a pump with this specific event. Is it more clear to you?
Well, I think there's concern again, and this is something we've mentioned, and I said yesterday, I'm really hoping that I'm wrong. This is a opinion I'm about to give. I hope that I'm wrong, but we have said on this channel that 25 basis point cut, it really communicates that the markets are okay, but it's time to pivot. That the job data is not bad, but it could get bad if we stay at these high rates. And it's time to slowly but surely start cutting rates and pivot similar to what we did in 2016 and 2020. Those are all things that will happen at 25 basis points. We've said, though, 50 basis points would communicate concern or fear. And even if Jerome Powell comes out and says, hey, we're doing good, we think we're in a good spot, we can cut 50, there still is going to be that question mark in people's heads that say, are they looking at something they're not telling us? We know that they've kind of fudged some details on the data points, kind of lied and manipulated some of them. Are they lying to us again by sounding confident but acting scared? And I hope I'm wrong. There are some people out there that think that 50 basis points is still a very bullish cut. Unfortunately, I'm in the boat of saying I think 50% or 50 basis point cuts promotes fear, concern. It has more of a recession scare that it doesn't matter if you start cutting rates. If the economy starts faltering, we're going to be in trouble. And that way, I think that could be, there's concerns right now. Let me look this up. I didn't pull it up here, but I want to take a look at the CME futures predictions on what we'll see here. All right, we're back in the good. All right, so this is actually very, very good. Yesterday, when we did our show in Dallas, T-Shroom, the 50 basis point percentage of predictions was shooting higher, up towards 60%, and the 25 basis points came lower. Something shifted in the last 24 hours, and now we're back to a 70% prediction. It will only be 25 basis points, and 30% it will be 50. I'm telling you guys right now, we had a long time between there and now, but I think yesterday we got spooked, T-Shroom, because I saw articles, I saw posts, I saw Twitter posts again. I didn't want to use the word twice, but there you go. Twitter posts all saying, guys, there's some concern about recession once again. Very similar to what happened back on July 5th when there was a major recession scare based off of what was happening with Japan. And I want you guys to know, I'm not saying that I believe the economy is sitting here very, very strong and doing great, but I think that as long as the data points continue to lie to us, there is a chance they can keep the lie going. Let's just make sure we're clear on this. They have been lying about the state of our economy for years now. And I'm not even just talking about going back to 2021. They effectively have been lying about the state of our economy since they went off the gold standard back in officially the 80s. It has always been a game of lies. It's always been a game of how can we convince people everything's okay while we continue to print into oblivion and ruin their future. That's the whole reason why cryptocurrency and Bitcoin are so important for the future of how money is handled, because it will cause, for the first time in a long time, our governing entities to actually be honest. Because it's almost one of the things, like I actually said this, as a new parent, I have a plan with my kids. I'm going to tell them, like, listen, I want you to tell me the truth, but I already know the answer. So don't lie to me, right? Well, in this case, we don't know the answer. So when our politicians speak to us, they can lie to us and we won't actually know or have the facts. When cryptocurrency is implemented and being utilized, it will be like we can tell our politicians, listen, we already know the answer, so don't lie to us. What's happening right now, right? That, unfortunately, is not the case in the current situation. And if you're the type of person who only wants to look at the reality when it comes to investing, that's fine. You're going to be sorely disappointed. You're going to get shook out. There's a lot of very, very, very strong bears in the investing world right now, predicting new lows and all these crashes. And their reason really is based off of looking at reality and looking at the lies of the government and looking at how they're manipulating data to kind of spoon feed us hopium. Well, here's the problem. If you trade reality but don't trade the data, you can get wrecked aggressively. Eventually, the piper will get paid. eventually we will have to pay for the sins of inflating our US dollar, going to crazy high debt. But that day does not necessarily need to be today, especially when you look at the fact that this is an election season. And you go back in the history of Bitcoin, never once has Bitcoin crashed following an election. But Bitcoin doesn't have that long of a history. If you go back into the stock market, with the exception of 2000, it's been a very, very, very long time that the S&P 500 or the stock market as a whole has had a crash following an election season. Usually the election season pumps the markets, and then we continue to rally for a couple more years before there is some sort of steep correction. That's another reason that kind of gives me some hope here and slash realistic point, saying the data might be lying to us, but the data looks favorable. And we're pairing that with an election season where neither side wants to look responsible for a crash. So no matter who wins the presidency, no matter who gets put into Senate and Congress and what that looks like, they will do everything within their powers to continue to manipulate data, to cheat things around so that they look like they're boosting the economy. And that includes the cryptocurrency space. It will follow bullishly if that happens. I'm not saying it's impossible for a crash to happen. There's always a possibility. But when you look at the history and you look at the data, and you look at the lies that they tell us and how things respond to those lies, there still is a massive reason to be bullish. Just doesn't mean that's happening today or tomorrow. There's a lot of volatility between us and probably later this month when I think things start going bullish once again.
Yep, absolutely. There were some more details on this article here that I wanted to continue with. This is the big debate on ABC News. That's going to be September 10th. This will be another catalyst. Again, depending on which candidate performs better, and that is a very big asterisk because that is very subjective these days.
Yeah.
But this could be a catalyst, and you'll have to interpret it for yourself. There's a lot of variables that we just don't need to get into about how that can turn out. But you can read between the lines on that. September 11th, there's some big inflation prints. You got U.S. core inflation, the expectations there. And then you've also got the U.S. inflation. So that's going to be September 11th. So both of these are going to be big catalysts, one after another. And then the next big one is going to be probably the 18th. Well, there'll be another job print, looks like. There'll be some more job data coming out on the 12th. And then the 18th is going to be the decision from the Fed and also the press briefing. So that is going to be a very big week. Is that all in the same week? I think it might be. So that's
a lot. It's a jam-packed week here, not this
week.
Coming week, but the week after. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot here. I mean, so look forward to the 11th here next week. We'll get the inflation data. Yeah, the CPI was the more important data when it comes to the Fed, but those inflation numbers will do a lot. And once again, I want to make sure people understand how the bros address this. We're not lost on the fact that reality and data does not line up, but we are aware that markets move based off of data, not on reality. Yep. Why? Because big money, this is how they work. They want to make more and more money, so they do manipulate data points. They manipulate articles. This is the composite man in work. The composite man, while you treat it like one entity, it's combination of lots of different people working together in unity to confuse the retail investor and make them do the wrong things at the wrong time. In this case, the retail investor thinking that they have a good grasp on how the world works and seeing the problems happen is going to say, oh, we're doomed. We're going to have a massive, massive problem. And then everything goes up and it doesn't make sense. Why? Well, because as long as there's power to manipulate and to fudge data, they're going to do it. And smart money knows, follow the data. Wait for the bubble to pop. And unfortunately, at the moment, while we are in a bubble of kinds when it comes to the economy, we're inflated very, very much so. It's not time for the bubble to pop just yet. A lot of, I'll tell you this, we're going to kind of go on to the next subject here, but a lot of people kind of looking at this, I've heard some very good arguments for 2027. If you want to know when all these bad decisions catch up to us, and when should we expect probably a pretty severe bear market, 2027 makes a lot of sense. It's coming towards the end of towards end of the next president's election. It's going to be something that they can look good in the beginning. They're going to have to deal with that at the back end. How severe it's going to be depends a lot upon how we act and treat our debt from here to then. But 2027, that's what we're kind of watching at this point, is the time to potentially be pulling out of markets, Make sure you're investing in something that rides well in heavy recessions. We'll cover all that and more. We got years until that happens, but we'll make sure on this channel we're preparing you for that.
And one more note here on this article. The expectation, Tim, for U.S. inflation is 2.6. So it's going to bring us three basis points lower than that 2.9 handle that we got on the previous CPI print. So that is going to be, I would say that the markets might take that as very, very bullish to see so much progress being made on inflation. That can be very good there if we do indeed get that kind of a print. Into the next story here. Maybe you've heard of him. Donald Trump says he will lift U.S. sanctions against Russia because it's hurting the dollar. We'll just spend a moment on this because there's a big if, right? He's got to win an election, and then he's got to actually make this happen. But that could be interesting, and its effect on currency markets and markets in general. It would make U.S. exports more expensive if the dollar is stronger. So that would kind of go again, but it would also give the United States more buying power. So exporting more difficult, importing easier, less expensive. So the quick macro analysis there from T-Shroom. Let's keep moving. We've got a celebration, Tim. It's not a birthday. It's a Bitcoin day. El Salvador adopted Bitcoin on this day 3 years ago. Happy Bitcoin Day, El Salvador. And there, of course, is the president, Nayib Bukele, one of my personal heroes in a lot of ways. He's not just awesome when it comes to Bitcoin. He's also a believer in Jesus, and he's a leader. He's shown some of the best leadership I've seen in the 21st century for principles I believe in.
And it's awesome watching countries looking at their results and how they fixed some things. Argentina, more than likely is going to be following suit of what El Salvador does, and I think other countries will follow. And it goes back to kind of what we were just talking about, even with these recessions. And I want to make sure people understand Bitcoin and crypto. Well, let's just talk about Bitcoin real quick, because cryptocurrencies are more about the future of technology. Bitcoin is not really crypto. If anyone here new is watching, everyone talks about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Yes, it was the first thing built on blockchain technology, but if you want to get really real with it, Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin is the hardest money we've ever seen in the world. It's really not crypto. It's not made for smart contracts and building a lot of things. It's not even really built in a good way for exchanges on the day-to-day platform. It's built a lot like gold, but just so much better. But my overall point here is that Bitcoin's going to go down. Bitcoin against the US dollar will be volatile still. It will have some great days and some great months and some great years. And then it'll have a couple of days here, months here, maybe a year or two where it goes to the downside. That's called volatility. But if you track that volatility is going to continue to pour in stronger against the US dollar. The US dollar is a chart that is going to continue to set lower lows and lower highs, especially because of the emergence of Bitcoin. And even if in 2027, Bitcoin sees a massive price correction, who knows? Maybe we're sitting up at like 500,000. We correct back down to like 200,000, over a 50% dip in Bitcoin. It still is the long-term solution to the broken dollar. And the reason I'm saying this is because I wanted to say this before you brought up the El Salvador thing, T-shirt, but it's a nice little transition here. That is the kind of things that the president of El Salvador and now the president of Argentina see. They're not unaware of the volatility. They understand that there will be ups and downs, but they know that the ups will be greater than the downs and that it will bring long-term stability to their nations who have had instability now for a very long time. Bitcoin is a financial revolution. And guess what? In revolutions, you have your good days and you have your bad days. Bitcoin is going to be the same way. But anyone who is watching what's happening in the world and wondering, should I be invested in Bitcoin? I don't know how you use the word should there. I have to be invested in Bitcoin. Why? Because the dollar, fiat currency, and the way the economies as a whole work, we're doomed for these broken systems with recessions every couple of years, because fiat currency and the way it works is a broken system that hurts people. Bitcoin is a way to bring transparency, true value, and wealth back to not only the current wealthy, but allow a level playing field for the lower classes to work hard and build their own wealth. Kind of the dreams and foundations of why America, we live here in America, us investing bros, some of you guys do as well. Those are the dreams of when you go back to the 1700s, that's all that they wanted. There's nothing guaranteeing wealth. There was nothing saying that just because you're American, you become a wealthy civilian. But you should have the right and opportunity to work hard and accomplish that. And unfortunately, a lot of places in the world, and it's starting to get that way here in the US, it's almost impossible. No matter how hard you work, you are stuck in those lower levels. That's the evil of fiat currency. That's the evil of they can print it and manipulate it whenever they want. Things like Bitcoin, they cannot do that. It levels the playing field. That's the ultimate freedom moving forward.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, we had a couple of comments here before we get to the comments, and then we had that request for the monthly candlestick analysis for the oscillator for Bitcoin. I wanted to bring to your attention this. So this is the Bitcoin AASI, the Active Address Sentiment Indicator. A bit of on-chain analysis here. We don't do a ton of this on the Investing Bros, but every once in a while we do.
Yeah.
What is it saying? Quick and simple. It's essential. When you zoom in here, you can see that essentially what is being portrayed here is that the 28-day change in price is actually getting oversold, right? Just to cut to the chase, Bitcoin is oversold. That shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but the active address sentiment indicator from Bitcoin Magazine Pro is showing that as well. So I'm not going to linger too much on that, but essentially what that means is that Bitcoin is oversold.
Teacher, really quickly, we got to take a break here. Do you know who we see in chat?
Who do we see in chat, Tim?
Zach Fletcher. Long lost friend. Yeah, Zach, love from Pittsburgh. Zach, what is going on? We gotta call you soon. Zach is an old friend of mine from back in Gainesville, mine and T-Shirt's friend. He is an old editor that worked with us during the Crypto Jeb days.
Yeah, we were just talking about Zach yesterday.
Yeah, even before that, he's just a great guy. Zach, we want to see you here more often. Are you investing in crypto still? Do you sell everything? Let us know. You guys welcome Zach again. Just salt of the earth, one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. Love you, Zach. Good to see you here. We gotta get Smay in here again too. Maybe get a reunion with Zach and Smay. We'll bring the team back. Some of you remember Zach. Zach was always the backup producer whenever Smay was sick or out. So put a 1 in chat if you remember in the Crypto Jeb, the Coffee and Crypto days, that if you remember Zach Fletcher. Zach's still in the game. All right, come on, Zach. There we go. Good. All right, let's keep going on here, T-Shirt. Didn't want to interrupt too much, but had to give some love to Zach.
Very nice. Yeah. So a couple of comments here. Crux of Crypto.
Put last thing here. If you remember our nickname for him, because he had a nickname, put the nickname in chat.
I remember.
At the end of the show, I'll say it if no one else gets it. But yeah. All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I remember half the people screaming, take profits, half the people screaming, buy the dip. Crypto is literally the Wild West. Yeah. I think it's just, this is what happens when you're just a couple of days away from that Fed pivot transitioning from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, right? It is really I wouldn't say it's anybody's guess, right? But this is a moment where things have historically been either very bullish or very bearish. So very, very interesting. Ryan Rayner said, wish I was in crypto at 25K. Being new sucks. So this is a testament to being around during the bear markets, right? Not losing focus. And ultimately, I have a very nice entry point, not too far from 25K, because I was buying in the bear market. And then I diversified into altcoins and was buying there. So, it is definitely a luxury to have an entry around 25K. Being new, it doesn't suck, right? Because if you're getting out of dollars and you're buying assets, you are winning. You're winning the intellectual battle.
I want to talk to Ryan and a lot of other people because Ryan, I love that chat because it's not you. You're alone in that one. A lot of people watching, a lot of people worldwide are in the same exact boat. There's a lot of people that might even be watching now that maybe your first purchase was somewhere north of $70,000. Like you've only bought the top. And it's very hard because you've been in loss, not just for a couple of days or weeks. And that's hard enough for a new investor. But when you've been at nothing but negative for a couple of months, it's absolutely crushing to your spirit, to your emotional state, and it's very tempting to just cut your losses, get out. Was this whole thing a scam in the first place? I want to talk to all of you people who are like that. Let me know in chat if that represents you. My first buy was in 2020. around $11,000. Okay. I'm going to be very honest with you. That purchase was probably only in the negatives for about a week or so. I got very, very lucky, took advice from very, very intelligent people, bought at a good time. With that said, there was a part of me that said, why didn't I listen a couple of years ago when the price was sitting at like $1,000 and someone tried to orange pill me? And the people that were orange pilling me at $1,000 said, why didn't I listen when someone told me about this thing back at $10? And my point here is there will always be the ability to wherever you are in, wherever you're at, to look at the previous price action and say, man, I wish I could have bought at that level. But now think about the future, because the person that bought at $10 didn't buy the beginning of, he could have bought better before, but he had an amazing buy signal. And the guy that bought at $1,000, he could have bought at 10. It would have been much better to buy at 10, but $1,000 is still in a great buy spot. And the person that bought at 13 and 11, and the person that bought at 25, and in the future, I know this doesn't feel this way right now, but the people that bought at 70,000 will look back and say, I'm so glad I bought at 70,000. They will be orange pilling people, getting some friends and family in the space that will say, you bought Bitcoin at 70,000? How did you know to buy it that early? That is what they're going to say to you in a couple of years. But you got to learn right now, while that's not the emotional state, that's not how it feels. You got to learn to think about the future. You got to look at the trend. You got to look at the world. You got to understand what the inevitable future is. And the future is saying, wow, I bought $70,000. What a great buy. I have the opportunity right now to buy at $54,000. What a great buy. It's not 25. It's not 11. It's not 1,000. It's not $10. But it's better than where we're going to be here in the next couple of years. And you got to start learning to think about it that way. You are winning. It just doesn't feel like way right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Tim, we had a request to look at the monthly for Bitcoin. Why don't we go ahead and pull the trigger on that now, and then we'll circle back to some more comments. So let us know if you have any questions about crypto, Bitcoin, investing, what our favorite pizza is, and what our favorite comb
I like
is.
this chat from T4M90I. First of all, very generic name right there. Was it assigned to you, or did you create that? What is that one? Let us know. I know all the dips are for buying, but I have no more cash for this finger licking dip. Yeah, I feel you on that one. Now, when I say I feel you, I do have some cash for these dips. I've been preparing for them. But I also have the ability to, some of you guys know this. We when we started this channel, we weren't making a single dime from this channel, right? T-Shirt and I both had other jobs while we ran the channel. The Lord has blessed us. You guys have blessed us. You guys have supported us extremely well. We've grown. We have sponsors now. We have partners. We have membership options. We've gotten to a level now where T-Shroom was able to completely quit all of their work and be here full time. Crux of Crypto, he's working with us, and his what he's going to be doing is growing, getting more money. And I still have some other jobs here, but in the future, the goal is to be here full time. But I want you guys to know, we're not just coming on here every single day, making some cryptocurrency videos and then running around and playing, and all of a sudden, all this money we're making, we're just living the large life. We're working hard. I mean, even T-Shroom, you have side hustles on the side, right? I'm working. I have 3 jobs right now. I'm not going to tell you all 3 of them are full-time jobs. One of them definitely a full-time job. The other 2 are pretty hefty jobs. The point I'm trying to make here is, I'm not trying to say that I'm this perfect person and you guys need to be just like me. There's so many of you that can do things so much better than I can. But do not be afraid of the side hustle. Do not be afraid of the grind. And this is the perfect time to grind. There will be a season in your life in the future. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to get rid of a side hustle and only have your job. By the way, that's another big mistake. Unless you have like $60 million, do not retire. Don't stop working. Maybe quit your job that you hate and is killing you inside every single day. But do not stop the side hustle. Do not stop finding ways to make more cash, even when you're a millionaire. That is going to set you up for a life of disappointment, and it's going to teach your future children to be lazy. I'm just being very honest with you. If you stop working just because you have some money right now, that is the detail of being lazy. Find something to do, even if you have money right now. But for those of you who are fully invested, you have no money on the side, you're working a full-time job, I get it. And I'm not trying to say that you're being lazy. What I'm saying is I want to challenge you. How much more can you give? You only live once, and I understand some of you want to have fun, but you only live once, and you can only be young for a short amount of time.
That's true.
Can you grind? Can you use this season right now to put comfort and fulfillment? And fulfillment's the wrong word, because I feel like even in work you can be fulfilled, but comfort and ease on the back burner and grind. You have a job right now, you're working 60 hours a week. You do some math about the free time you have in your life. You still have probably another 30, 40 hours you could be doing some sort of hustle. Driving an Uber, we were talking about this the other day. We might make a video about the greatest side hustle. I had a friend in high school that paid for all of his college as a high schooler by researching eBay prices and then going to yard sales, buying things and flipping them on eBay. He paid for his entire college education by using that side hustle. I understand life is difficult. I understand that people want to be comfortable, but there's times to be uncomfortable and to grind and to hustle and to continue to make money and money and money to buy the dips so that 10 years from now, you're living nicely. So that maybe here in 2 years, you're investing so heavily, you work that crazy job you have to work and it's only paying you like $20 an hour, $25 an hour. It's not making ends meet. Guess what? Maybe you can quit that job and pursue a career in something you actually like. Maybe you can quit that job and take a short-term internship in the field you want that you're getting paid less for maybe a year or two, but all of a sudden after that, it brings in the big bucks, but you were fine because you had a massive investment in the cryptocurrency space. That's the kind of stuff you got to do. But right now is the time to grind and to hustle, find another way. And I'll put it this way. Again, I don't want to make any of you feel bad about yourself whatsoever, but I want to challenge you. If you are the type of person who makes excuses about life, if you are a victim, if nothing ever works for you, if the whole world is against you, at what point are you going to just stand up and say, you know what, maybe it is just me against the world, but I'm not going to lose? Do not accept defeat. Do not accept that the world sucks. As much as the United States has gone downhill since its founding, it is still an opportunity land. And I think the majority of you are living in places, maybe not all of you in the US, but you still live in a country where it might suck and it might hurt and it might be hard, but you still have the ability and the freedom to work your butt off, to grind and make something of yourself. This is your opportunity. This is the time to do it. Don't make excuses. The only person that gets hurt from your excuse is you. If you're making excuses, it doesn't affect me or T-Sherm whatsoever. It doesn't affect the government. It doesn't affect anyone else in your life except for you. So stop. Stop making excuses. Get up. Go grind. Make that money.
Absolutely, Tim. Very well said. Very well said.
I love what Piper said here. I tried to retire. I sucked at it. That's that right there. Yeah, don't retire. Maybe quit your job, but don't retire. Go find something to add value and hopefully add some wealth to your account as well.
Kip C said, Tim, do you day/swing trade Bitcoin or a strict holder?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we trade. Yeah. I'm not necessarily day trading every single day because some days, like I just finished telling you guys, I have 3 jobs. I'm not an unbusy person, but I try my hardest to day trade. That's stuff we do with our VIP trading group. The future, I'm hoping we're going to be doing a lot more of that. But it's not just me in there. We have lots of other traders that are day trading in there. So if you're looking to day trade and learn more about it, come in there. We're teaching lessons weekly. We have membership streams. We have a very active trading group Discord with some great traders in there. You will not regret it. There's 2 ways to get in there. The BroLux memberships, getting into the Pro Bros option, or even, you guys remember the charts I was showing you, Lux Algo? You guys see me doing those charts every day. One of the cool things is if you buy the premium version of Lux Algo, then not only do you get the best indicator on the planet, you also get access into our trading group. So look into that as well. But yeah, we day trade. That's another side hustle kind of, some days I lose money in day trading, but other days I make some big money, and those all get rolled over into more. I don't trade like $1,000 to turn it into $100,000 and have a $100,000 trading portfolio. I trade with money to create dry powder to buy more of these dips for long-term holds. So it's a combination of both. And that's how I think most people should be.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. I love it.
The King says, Tim, you still stacking Ondo? I'm up 20K. I'm up to 20K. That's a big distinction. I don't know if anyone's up 20K on Ondo right now. Loving the dip. Yeah, the King, I am definitely still stacking Ondo. Yeah, I love it as well. And that's another thing that the more and more you invest, I can probably tell here the King, he's been investing for a little bit longer than 3 months now. Why? Because he says, I'm loving the dip. No new investor ever loves the dip. New investors only want to see rallies. But the longer you're in this, you will learn to appreciate, even when your portfolio is in the red, even if you bought at a high level and then dropped, you will still get to a level where you say, wow, what an opportunity to add to my bag and lower my lower buy-in signal. That's the part of the grind of even investing is you got to get the experience and the years under your belt so that you can get to the position where you are loving dips. That's the people that make money. The people that hate dips and are scared of them, they're going to lose. They're going to lose pretty bad. Piper's reminding us we're supposed to look at the monthly chart here, T-Shroom, right?
Yeah, look at those monthly oscillators.
Let's take a look here. Now, something I want to try to talk about here on the monthly chart is keep an eye, and it's not perfect. It's not saying that just because these are happening, we have to go down, but keep an eye on the major wicks so far every single month. In fact, I told you guys here in the month of September, I'm expecting a wick at least down here towards 50,000, give or take. That would be another long wick, but we will have finished with 1, 2, 3, 4, and if that happens again, 5 major months of very long wicks. And in fact, I'll tell you this right now, I think that this monthly candle closes white, bullishly. I think we close somewhere up here, but the opening will be right here. If we hit a $50,000 wick with a close right here, that's going to be another massive wick. Why am I talking about these wicks here, everybody? Well, if you don't know much about how candles work, the wicks below the candle bodies communicate how low we got, but also communicate that despite the fact that we went down that low, or if they're on the upside, that high, that we had a major reversal in play. And a lot of times you'll see in the history of reversal patterns, you start to see major wicks on one side. So for example, as we got closer towards the bottom of the bear market, FTX kind of screwed us up right here, but we started to build up these longer wick candles. Didn't mean the bottom was in yet, but it was showing us, hey, we're starting to test the buying pressure. Reversals coming soon. You see it happen here. You see it happen here back in February 2022. You see it happen back here in June, May, June, July of 2021. But on the flip side, look at the reversals when we get rejected. Look at these big wicks kind of telling us, uh-oh, a top is coming. A top is coming. We didn't really get one over here, which is part of the reason why I don't think that we really are having a strong reversal. But if you look at almost every major support, you see massive wicks on the downside. Every major resistance, massive wicks on the upside. These are things showing you a reversal should be coming. Like I said, it doesn't always happen. Like, for example, right here, big wicks. We technically actually had a deep correction here back in 2017, but big wick here, the upside said, time to go back to the upside. Big wick here, time to go to the upside. So keep an eye on that one. That's the first thing I want to point out. We have been having some big wicks for multiple months now on Bitcoin, but let's take a look at our oscillators here. Yeah, we got some bearishness on our oscillators. This is, I think, what people are saying they're keep an eye on. We got some bearish divergence here in play. We're definitely heading to the downside. In fact, on the monthly chart, this is not going to be quite it, I don't think. Because I think by the time that we got this flash, yeah, it's, well, no, actually, we have time, 6 months. So we actually have a couple more months. We could get a nice sell signal right there. So the oscillators on the monthly chart, absolutely. Luxago oscillator, if I'm going to take my opinions out of it completely. I am not thinking about 4-year cycle. I'm not thinking about bullishness whatsoever. I'm just saying I'm going to trade this chart. That's a sell signal. That's not good. This right here, the MACD is crossing bearishly. That blue line is about to cross below the average price of the orange line. That's bearish right there. I'm not going to lie to you. RSI, that's bearish. I'm not going to lie to you. Now I want to kind of get back down to reality. What we're looking at right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a monthly chart, meaning one candle represents an entire month. There's only 12 months in a year, which means 12 candles is, just so you guys know, 12 candles is not a significant grouping of data points. If you go back and look at the history of how these things work, let's take a look at the top of the 2021 bull market. We have one top back here in April of 2021, the next top here in November of 2021. Well, we flashed majorly over bought here in April. And we had to have a nice correction. But we'd go on to go higher, set a higher high, despite the fact that the oscillator itself, on both the RSI and the Luxago oscillator, set a lower high, giving us some very strong bearish divergence and creating for us a bear market. But it wasn't the first peak that caused the crash. It was the second one, the second lower one. You keep going back over here. You go back to and I'm only going to get so much data points. Let's go to a different time frame. I think that has more. You come back here. We got overextended right here, July 16th. There's a lot of reasons to be bearish. We come back down. We have a small little dip. We go up even higher. We just lived in overextended world for not just like a month or two, for half a year, almost a full year throughout all of 2017. Finally, we had a correction. We came back down, had a bear market bottom. You come back, even go further. There we go. Continual. Look at this. Overextended, bearish indicators, overbought, small correction, major rally. What's my overall point here? When you're looking at the monthly chart, it's very important to take a look at the bird's eye view of what is happening. Yes, there are bearish indicators on the monthly chart, but there's also bullish ones. And then you take a look at historical movements on the monthly chart. And rarely does the first time during that bull market that you get to a level of being overextended and seeing a sell signal, rarely is that actually going to be the one that tops out, right? So I'm not saying that this proves that the bull market's still on, right? Because yeah, we're looking at bearish signals here. What I'm saying is that historically, these bearish signals can trap some bears into thinking a major crash is coming, when in reality, it was only the first leg of a much larger movement. Eventually, we will correct. Eventually, we will have a bear market. We will have a nice pullback on Bitcoin. It's just what happens in the markets. You rally, you get overextended, and it's time for the markets to cool off. But it's not something that I'm looking at and saying, oh, I see a bearish indicator, I'm selling. No, you always want to take a look at context and historical data on how these things work and the cycles that they work with. Because in this case, this actually tells me this was the first top of a much, much larger move coming that keeps me in the bullish opinion side of where we're going.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to give my take on that as well here. So if you look at the monthly oscillators, when you take a look at the Luxago oscillator here, you definitely see a pattern where you have the red delta, and this is going all the way back to 2017, so the data is a little bit skewed. But you have the red delta, sell delta, and then you get that gray confirmation of bearish trend, and then you get the same thing here. And now we've just gotten that printed around what looks like some what is local tops, right? But what's different about this time, right? First of all, people like to say, oh, this time is different, and then people say, oh, it's never different. It's always different. There's always a different variable, and not just on Bitcoin, in the stock market as well, right? And that's how hedge funds make money, right? They figure out what is different about this time and what is going to change. This time, in the stock market, there's things like AI, right? There's things like the Fed switching from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing. There's things like there being an election cycle in the United States, the largest economy by far, right? But the biggest thing that's different about this cycle for Bitcoin is actually the fact that a lot of this pump from since January 2024 was because of the ETFs, right? Think about it like this: there was like a whole new exchange that came out that allowed Bitcoin to be purchased by new investment class that otherwise didn't want to buy it, right? Or wanted to buy it but couldn't. So this run up caused an overheated signal in the oscillator, right? And that is true. It was overheated. Now we're correcting and coming back down. We could come back down all the way to this midline of the Bollinger Band out on the monthly chart, right? And I still think to be very, very bullish. For a lot of reasons, coming back down to 45, right? Now, that might be painful. That I'm not saying that it's easy to watch Bitcoin's price come all the way down, right? But as a serious investor, you have to know that there's going to be volatility, especially when you're trading cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah.
If there was this much volatility in the S&P 500, right, that would be the end of times, right? It would be the end of the stock market. But for cryptocurrency, this is very, very normal. And so how do you do this? How are you profitable? Risk management. You cannot invest more than you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
And some people, but T-Shroom, I look at Bitcoin like a savings account. That's fine. Then think about it not as don't invest what you can't afford to lose. It's don't invest what you can't afford to not have to pay rent. You got to have dollars to pay rent, or yen or euros, whatever, wherever you live, pesos, whatever it is. Don't invest into Bitcoin, which you need to pay rent or pay for your college loans, pay for your food on the table that week, pay for whatever it is, right? If Bitcoin gets low and you have to sell your Bitcoin to pay for rent, then you're at an economic disadvantage, right? But if you keep money on the side, then you're fine. And I think the overall thesis here that we've topped out is essentially thinking that we are here in the cycle where my crosshairs are pointing, when in reality, so a lot of people are thinking we're here in the cycle, that we're at the top. That's not the case. We are here in the cycle. Like, we've definitely seen some upward movement. We've seen a nice first and second leg of the bull market, perhaps, but we're not at the top and ready to flush, right? The oscillators are kind of indicating that that's the case. Really, what the oscillators are indicating is that there has been an immense early run-up that is uncharacteristic. That is different. This time is different, right? But that does not mean that we don't have higher to go. All indications have we not only have higher to go, we have much higher to go from here. It's just going to take time.
Yeah. Moho says, but recession, question mark. So let's talk about this, guys. We said it earlier, and we'll say it again. By the way, everybody join in here. But between YouTube and X, we have over 800 people watching right now. So thank you so much for being here. But make sure you smash the like button on X. Share the video so that somebody you know who needs to hear some of this information can hear it. But let's talk recession. We say this all the time. I'll say it again. We live in the world of reality, and we live in the world of data. Reality is people are hurting. The reality is I've heard of people losing their jobs. The reality is everything's getting more and more expensive, and people are making less and less money, and it's crushing. I get that. But the data does not say we're in a recession. They could be lying to us, but that's the data. And have you ever heard, we talk about this with other people. I'm actually not going to say names of people because I'm not going to try to make anyone feel bad. But there are people out here that there's a joke. It's like, man, they've called 11 of the last 3 recessions. Meaning they're always saying we're in a recession. And eventually a broken clock is right twice a day. But everyone's screaming that we're in a recession. Everyone's screaming that we're in trouble. Well, yeah, they are looking at their life and the reality, and they're saying this is a problem. Unfortunately, the markets don't care about your life. Wall Street doesn't care about your life. BlackRock doesn't care about your life. JP Morgan doesn't care about your life. You want me to crush some minds out there right now? The government does not care about your life. All of these entities I just mentioned care about themselves, and they care about making money, and they care about continuing to hold the power that they hold. And to do that, they manipulate data points, and they invest at the right times, and they get out at the right times. And they do that looking at the data. The data they know the average retail investor is not going to keep an eye on. I'm sorry. I am really sorry if anyone out there is struggling really hard right now, and I want to do everything I can to help you as best I can. But the best way I can help you is by telling you the truth, and the truth is that people don't care about your pain. You got to find a way to get around it. Like I said earlier, I don't know your story. Everyone's got a different one. But if you're going to live on excuses, it's going to be a hard life. It's the moment you say, you know what, despite my downfall, despite my problems, despite how far I'm being pulled back, I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight anyway. And one of the ways you can fight is by looking at the current markets and saying, you know what, can I scratch together 2 pennies and invest in this market? Because the data is saying we're not in a recession. The data is saying we're getting ready for another pump to the upside. No matter who you're going to vote for in the presidential election, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I actually am getting to the place where no matter who wins, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, both are going to see the markets go to the upside. Why? Well, both will have tools to manipulate the data and manipulate the information to get it to be positive and bring confidence to the wealthy to invest the most money who make the markets pump. There will be a a severe correction at some point. But the question is when that point is, then the data will start to go sour. Things will start to get bad. If you pay attention, you lock into the details, you will know when things are going bad because the data will say it. But right now, the data is not saying it. And I encourage you heavily, don't be like one of the people who calls 11 out of the 3 recessions. Be the type of person that takes in the information, processes what it means, understands that you're being lied to on the daily basis and know how to navigate those lies and invest or take profit accordingly. T-Shirt, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say that the current forecasts for GDP growth are far from negative, right? Which is what we would need to have 2 consecutive quarters for a recession, right? They're far from negative. They're positive, and I believe they're robust at 2 point something percent. I've been trying to find it, but I can't find the projections from Goldman. Published some projections last week. The term recession is broken, right? I would encourage folks to stop thinking about is there going to be a recession or not a recession. I think there's an excellent argument to be made that we've been in a recession since the pandemic. And by we, I mean commercial real estate absolutely has been in a recession. We talked to some insiders in the transportation industry this weekend, and they make a strong argument that there's been a recession in the shipping and transport industry, in the freight cargo industry. There are recessions. There are winners and losers in the economy at all times. Look at the S&P 500. Look at Bitcoin. Both have put in all-time freaking highs in 2024. Just because there's a recession hitting the job market, the commercial real estate market, the transport and cargo industries, doesn't mean that assets don't go higher. Why? Because the governments of the world, of the Eurozone and the United States, are debasing their currency, making the dollar, making fiat currency less valuable. What does that do? That makes shares of Microsoft, Bitcoin, Ethereum, more valuable over time versus the denominator, the dollar, that's getting worth less, versus the euro that's getting worth less. So you have to zoom out, look at the bigger picture. If that went over your head, that's okay. Just remember that the recession, the term recession, the concept of a recession, it's not holistic. It's not describing the entire industry. What it does is it says, have there been 2 quarters of GDP, and is unemployment bad? And if that's true, then there is a recession, right? But there's a lot of things that can happen. There could be people making millions of dollars and losing billions of dollars during a recession. That happens every single time. What you do want to do is constantly look for underbought assets that you believe in, that you have put time and research and your intelligence into studying, and buy those high conviction assets, and just watch as they ascend versus the denominator, the dollar, right? The dollar sucks. The euro sucks. We know this. More and more people are knowing this as the internet proliferates this information, right? You're early on this phenomenon, and what I would argue, maybe overly optimistically, is the end of fiat currency. We're at the beginning of the end of fiat currency after 2009. That it was signaled to a lot of people that it's the beginning of the end of fiat currency. Gold, all-time highs. Real estate, all-time highs in the U.S. What does this all mean? It means people are flooding out of the dollar, right? In order for markets to crash, people have to exchange their shares of Apple and go into the dollar. Nobody wants to do that because it's inflationary.
Yeah. 100%. We ran a little bit past our show, the time frame. We usually end at 12. Let me look at one more thing with everybody, and we're going to let it go. I saw someone ask earlier for .TA, and I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of coins that'll look similar to here. Go to my screen here real quickly. Let me change these colors again. I haven't caught up all of my charts to match this. I want to start doing this more often so you guys can see green is support, red is resistance. Very bullish formation here for Polkadot on longer time frames. Let's go to the daily chart here really quickly. Eventually, this is going to break to the upside here for DOT. What I like here, though, again, so we're going to price back up towards $8. Let's get rid of that one here, and we'll get back to that later. What I like is we're sitting on support right now. But remember I said earlier that the 4-hour chart's bullish on Bitcoin, and we're looking at a small bounce on Bitcoin, but I really want to see the daily chart print buy signal. Look what we have going on Polkadot. I'm not even going to go to the 4-hour chart because all I need to see is this daily chart. We have printed bullish divergence, a green reversal, bullish momentum, and we've already been positive in the money flow. That is a buy signal here on Polkadot on the daily chart. That is something that I love to see here. It's going to be not that long. I know we have a take profit down below us, but I think that's a buy signal right there. I think it's going to at least rally us back up here towards 490, back up towards resistance. But then you come out here to the weekly chart here, T-Shroom. We hit our long-term order block that we had been looking at for a while. We're on support. And then the weekly chart. Remember I said you want to see the trickles of bullishness from the 4-hour to the 6-hour to the 8-hour to the 12-hour to the daily. We're not there yet, but remember I said that daily chart flashed by on a support level. Look what's happening on the weekly chart. We've had our reversals. We're getting bullish momentum dots, and that money flow, if you really start to take a look at it, I'm not saying it's official right now. Let's watch for another week or two. Let's make sure the daily gets going. But that weekly chart is now seeing the trifecta of the bullish signals come into play. And even though it's not printing it right here, you also can make a very good argument that we're going to start seeing bullish divergence here in play on that weekly chart here as well. So these are all things I'm looking at. I'm not saying that sell your house and go all in on Polkadot, but I'm saying that if you look at the charts and you like Polkadot and you're looking to put a little money into it, it's not a bad time right here. Sitting on a lot of support with some buy signals starting to flash on those longer time frames. This could be one of those coins that I'm not saying it's going to go 100% in the next day or two, but it could start to have a slow but sure rally because it's already found its bottom before Bitcoin corrects and then it has an explosive run. Guys, that's all we have for you in the show today. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed and learned something from this show, make sure to smash that like button. And if you are newer and you want to be involved daily, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. You want to spend more time with myself, T-Shroom, and lots of other extremely intelligent people. We've got a Discord. We have free levels and we have membership options. Go big on your education. Spend more time with us. Be patient because, yes, the markets are bearish right now, but they will turn bullish. And if you're not paying attention, they're going to do it while you're asleep. Stick around with our group. You're going to figure it out as you go. Love you guys. See you Monday. Same times, same place. 3 p.m. shows are back on Monday. I know you guys missed them. See you on Monday. Adios.
Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper. Turn that better to cake. Money like Lego. Connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing plans.